was about to resign! I was about to resign!
What a finish to this fascinating battle, which started with e4 and c5 from Alireza Firouzja playing black, a top 3 blitz player in the world over the board. Hans Niemann, for his part, has risen through the ranks of online blitz chess. It's awesome seeing these young guys play, and this game's got it all. So we see knight f3 from Hans. This is on chess.com. Blitz chess, September 11th, 2023. They're playing some games. d6 from Alireza. Bishop b5 check. Knight d7. Castles a6. And now Hans must have mouse slipped. He sticks the bishop on d3. Riding the seesaw with the pawns. But what's that all about? Knight g to f6. Rook e1. e6 now played. And the bishop nudges back. He corrects his mistake. No, I don't think he mouse slipped. He wanted it back here in one move. But until the rook slid away, he couldn't do so. But now b5 from Alireza. Look at that pawn structure, like an undulating wave you just want to surf on. Black has equalised already, so it's not the greatest opening variation. Hans now strikes at the centre with d4. We get captures. Knight recaptures. Bishop b7 attacking the central pawn, but Hans doesn't go f3 immediately. He goes a4, a tricky move. You take me, I take you. How do you assess that? It's just a different game. So instead Alireza goes for b4 here, saving that pawn. Now f3 from Hans, queen c7 very natural, and c3. Hans trying to break out from the oppression that this pawn is causing him. But Alireza now gets in the thematic Sicilian break with d5. If you can achieve this, you've usually equalised the game and then some. So Hans takes that pawn. If he tries to kick on, well, he's just shedding a pawn. So this one was played. Bishop recaptures now played. Knight recaptures, a bit more natural to my eyes. Both playable moves. Bishop e3 developing and bishop d6. Hitting the h2 pawn and asking an uncomfortable question. It's like trying to choose between biscuit or cake.
Father beaching. Biscuit or cake?
Biscuit or cake? Biscuit or cake? Let's see. For God's sake, hurry up, man! Biscuit, no cake!
Do you go h3? Do you go g3? Well, this one selected, weakening the light squares. Now we get castles and a5 from Hans. He wants a bind on this dark square. Maybe bishop b6 one day if the knight ever moves. So rook fc8 played. This bishop tucks back to f2 here, stacking the lasers. Look at the power they've got when they're working together, those bishops. Knight e5, looking at the light squares, and Hans now takes on b4. He wants to get this one into the game. Miserable piece. Go and make something of yourself in the world. Silly old knight. Now we get bishop captures, hitting the rook. Knight c3 played, and it looks like a pawn sack after pawn recaptures. But if you take with the queen, then you give up your knight on e5. The queen is protecting it. So that's why knight c4 here. Sitting on the head of that pawn, right? It's a miserable, backwards, weak pawn. Alireza in the driving seat. If you take that one, well, you're going to get killed on the light squares, probably checkmated. So knight b3 played instead. This is where Alireza now is weakest, on those dark squares, so Hans is playing there. We get knight d7, headed for e5, and so f4 covers that square, but does weaken the light square diagonal. It's Swiss cheese. Bishop b7, a great move now, preparing queen c6 to set up the battery. But instead we see knight f6 from Alireza, heading back to e4 because of the weakness of the last move, but great move now by Hans. He boldly charges forward with knight c5. This one doing a better job than its miserable brother over there. It covers e4. It's not the most stable square. It's not an outpost supported by a pawn, but for now, this bishop's working overtime. Here Hans is just holding on. We see rook d8 now played, x-raying the white queen. You could win this pawn as black, but then white can win this pawn. You open up the bishop, gets a bit weird. So instead Alireza keeps the pressure. Great move. We see bishop d4 intercepting the x-ray on the queen. Now h5, excellent attacking idea, giving the king some room, but also again looking to undermine the structure. Don't go h4, then knight g4, it's horrible. Excuse me. So queen e2 played, developing that lady into the game, connecting the rooks, always a good policy. We see h4, Alireza carrying on with his natural plan, and now it's really tough for Hans to play here. Everything feels a bit unsteady, like a little piggy who's made his house of straw and not bricks. Rook a4, the engine's favourite move. But Hans goes, whoops, knight d3 here, and okay, I've ruined the game, takes on g3 played. Pawn recaptures. Alireza exposing that king, and now knight e4. Look at the pieces charging forward. Wonderful symmetry there. The bishop supporting each. And now how to play? Well, here queen g4 selected, supporting g3 and threatening mate in 1. Alireza spots it. He was the blitz world #1 at a point in time. Phenomenal St. Louis tournament he had. The queen laterally defends the mate. This is Hans' best piece. Look at what a monster it is, especially now this diagonal opened. So the queen attacked, it moves to h4, and now this knight hops forward, threatening a huge check. Hans sees it. He could go bishop g2, but he goes knight e5. You're not going to fork down Alireza, but Alireza insists by sacrificing his queen. But not a real sacrifice, a pseudo sacrifice, right? Because you're getting the queen straight back after bishop captures, knight f3 check, the king moves, the queen drops, the pawn structure a mess, and this one dropping. Alireza's a pawn ahead, but that's not the end of the story. Hans has got the bishops, open board, and especially this one is just such a pain in the rear end. So we see king h3 played, knight e4 back. Now Hans takes that open file, rook c7 a big threat, and so that's why Alireza challenges the file, and by doing so, a pair of rooks coming off, he sheds the a6 pawn. But the rook slides back, the bishop moves, this pawn drops. Alireza remaining a pawn ahead. He's got the pressure, he's slightly up on the clock. We see rook g1 threatening to crash through here, and now you can go rook a7, just cover the threat, play slow and steady. But instead here we see a check. Alireza going for the tricks. King h2, rook a2, pin and win, right? The bishop's about to drop, but first Hans picks up the pawn. King f8, of course you don't step into the windmill tactic. Rook g2 back to cover the bishop, but knight f6 opens up the bishop on d5, rook hit. If you go rook f2, there's knight g4 check. How are you holding on here? You've got seconds on the clock. Well, all credit to Hans. He finds the brilliant move of bishop to f3. And if you take the rook, well then the bishop recaptures, you're holding on, right? You're fine. And if you don't do that, you take here, well now you shed your rook. That's not working either. So this move holds it together. We get knight g4 check, king g3, and now this is the moment. Hans can't believe it because Alireza blunders. He could play pretty much anything to hold a balance here. You know, knight takes on e5, for example. But rook a3 played. It looks like an absolute killer because this bishop should be dropping off the board and no rook f2 or knight takes, but something's been missed. Hans about to resign, but then he spots a trick. Can you see the tactic? We're going to now run to the clip which shows the end of the game here, plus Hans' reaction. I hope you enjoyed. Smash subscribe if you did, and don't forget to check out the next video right at the end of this video.